Hello, let's spend a little bit of time just walking through the structure of Canvas and how to find the different things that we'll be using this quarter. At the top of our Canvas page, I have our quarter-long assignments, and this is just a placeholder for trying to figure out where, one, the big assignments are going, and then two, the things that will be kind of ongoing. During our first lab meeting, we'll spend a bit of time talking about these in greater depth. But just so everybody's aware, everybody in this class will lead a discussion, and it'll be up to you to remember when you're leading that discussion. So during our second week, which will be our first lab meeting, Megan and Cassidy are leading the discussion based on Keeping It Living Chapter 1, then Devin and Tabitha for Emma's paper, Norman 2013, so on and so forth. I'll show you where to find these papers in a second, but the purpose of leading the discussion is you will have read that paper, you will have brought in additional information, so based on the topic, research something else and show that you've done some additional work, and then formulate 3 questions which you'll ask to your peers. For this quarter, I'll split you into multiple Zoom breakout rooms. So you and 7 or so of your colleagues, and you'll be in charge of leading that discussion. Either I'll be there or the TA will be there as well. But what I'm expecting is 3 questions. Ask them one at a time, and give a good pause. And try to, if there's a multi-part question, ask it one part at a time. And you are also striving for even participation, so you have to be careful of folks that over-participate and don't open up space, but also make sure everybody else participates. Now, for the students who are not leading the discussion, your lab grade is based on participation. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's kind of binary. If you participate, you get 5 points. If you don't, you don't. You get 0 points. So there's a point incentive for you to participate in some fashion. You don't need to go on for a long time, but expect everyone to engage to some level. So this is right here at the top. Everything's organized in modules. Our final project / paper and presentation is a fair amount of the class. It's 30% maybe of your overall grade, and this is what counts for your WP, your writing credit, so it's justified. Spend time looking at all of these. The final paper is broken down into sections. We'll start with an annotated bibliography. An annotated bibliography is finding 4 or 5 peer-reviewed papers, sources, do a synopsis of those in APA style and submit it, and I'll review it both for content and also for formatting. So we're really going to focus on APA style here. And the purpose of that, and I'll have to say this probably many times, the purpose of using APA is not to say APA is the best format, it's to have everybody adhere to the same format. If you're submitting a paper to a journal or submitting a consultant report, there's a certain format which it's expected to be in, and I'm enforcing a single format that has a lot of information available, and I want everybody to adhere to that. The number one thing that I see is people use some sort of citation machine, citation engine or something like this, and it gives out bad data. Garbage in, garbage out. So you have to, even if you use a citation machine or use a bibliometric software, I use Otero, you still have to make sure that it's correct, meaning that sometimes the information that you download and put into your either bibliometric software or using like a citation engine is not correct, and so it's going to give out bad data on the other side. It's up to you to cross-reference and double-check all of that. For the annotated bib, you're doing 3 to 4 sentences on each source, and I lay out pretty directly what I'm expecting. There's a video here to help you both walk through what's expected in the annotated bibliography, additionally how to search the literature and some tips and tricks for that I find very helpful. I encourage you to watch that video, and if you base your assignment on that, you'll do well. That's due on the 16th, relatively early, followed by an outline. The point here is to have a broad outline to help shape the paper, and then I can comment on that shape of the paper and direction of the paper. And in my experience, a good outline makes your job writing much easier, and will result in a higher overall grade. So outlines, I feel, are very important. Again, there's another video describing exactly what we're looking for in the outline. Then we'll have a draft paper, and this will actually be a peer-reviewed draft. So we'll fill out more there. We're only looking for a few sections, and we'll talk about it as the dates get closer. But this will be a peer review edit. So you'll read another student's draft paper, make comments on it, and your assessment will be based on both your draft and then your comments to a peer. And the final paper will be due on December 4th. So we'll spend more time talking about the final project, what you can pick for topics, things like that. But this timeline should be clear, and realize it starts relatively soon. October 16th is coming up sooner than we think it will. My office hours are Thursday 11 to noon. Follow this Zoom. Send me an email if there's another time, and send me an email as well if you plan on coming to office hours. I'll have Zoom open, but there's a waiting room set up, and it doesn't give me an audible ding when somebody goes in the waiting room. So I don't want to miss you. So let me know, or if you jump in the Zoom and I'm not there, send me an email. It could be with another student. Virtual lab. Every week we'll have lab. This is a synchronous/asynchronous class. The asynchronous part is my lectures. I'll post about 2 lessons a week with readings and things to do. Every week we'll meet for lab, which is Tuesday noon to roughly 4. Depending on how the quarter builds out, some of those might be virtual labs, meaning they're labs you can do on your own. So there's a number. So we'll meet every week, no matter whether it's a virtual lab or a real lab, because we do our weekly discussions at the beginning of the lab. So we might do our weekly discussions at noon, be done by 12:30, 12:45, and I'll say, okay, this is a virtual lab, and then you will complete one of these tasks as part of your virtual lab. We'll wind up with 3 or 4 of these over the quarter. There's not a ton of them, but it's a good way to engage in the content as well. And this is set up to have a variety of ways of engaging in the content. And basically it's set up in a series of columns. So walks, events, reading, plants, animals, and then media. So you could go for a walk, identify some things. At the end of that walk, you'll either do a short video or audio sharing the key takeaways, take a picture of yourself there, and a small journal entry, 300 words or so, it's about a page, or an annotated map or drawings. There's a few of these in Bellingham, and then there's some that just kind of say, go to a natural area for those who are not in Bellingham. Now for events, there's a bunch of really cool events coming up that I highly encourage you to engage in. So one is these Indigenous Food Pathways to Present. It's an online event. The Shared Waters Forum, also in early October. The Salish Sea 2020 Ecosystem Conference is fully online, so you can go back anytime and look at those. Vine Deloria, same thing there. There's some really cool stuff. And this webinar series, these are every Wednesday. You have to register in advance every Wednesday, end of September through October. And there's some good ones there. There's some reading, kind of do the same thing. Either when you're done, make a video discussing that reading, or do a small write-up on that reading. For plants and animals, we're using iNaturalist, which is a really cool app/program where you download the iNaturalist app. If you go out and take a picture of a plant, it will identify that plant and then put it into a shared database. We have a database for this class, and there's a kind of global database. And so the idea is, particularly for plants, if you choose to do that for one of your virtual labs, you'll go out and take pictures of 12 different non-cultivated species, and cultivated in the kind of traditional Western sense, meaning don't take a picture of your neighbor's tomatoes, take a picture, walk see home hill, take a picture of a sword fern, upload that, etc. 12 species might sound like a lot, but honestly, you can knock it out. If you know your plants, you can knock it out in a few minutes. If you don't know your plants, it'll take a little bit longer, but that's kind of the point, is to learn those species. The quick walk up see home hill would easily do that. And then media, there's a number of really great lectures or podcasts you can listen to and sort of do the same thing, a short video or a write-up about that experience. So we'll talk a bit more about the virtual labs. There's a lot of events happening that are coming up, just kind of, I find out kind of at the last minute, so I'll be adding these that I encourage you to engage in, and you can use that for one of your virtual labs. For the first couple of weeks, we'll be having real labs. So week 1, there's lesson 1. Most of the lessons will kind of follow this format of ideally a few. I'm shooting for shorter videos, but a few videos, maybe something to do, another video, and of course the review will actually be posted down here when we're done. So you have a few videos to watch, anywhere from a few minutes to 20 or 30. I'm trying to be not long-winded. We'll see how that goes. Week 2 might be a little bit better of an example. So there's 2 reading quizzes that we do most every week. These reading quizzes are intended to be relatively straightforward, and so the first reading quiz for the week will contain the reading for the Tuesday lab. This is the reading that our discussion leaders will be talking about. So the reading quiz is due Monday night. So the intention is that you read the material in advance and submit the quiz. The quizzes are designed to have relatively short answers. Frequently not, I'm not looking for paragraphs, I'm just looking for, did you read it? Later, some of these will be getting more at how to read a scientific paper, like where to go for different parts of it. This first one's a chapter, so it's formatted a little bit differently, but when I'm saying things like, how has the view of Northwest Coast people's engagement with agriculture, plant cultivation changed? Not paragraphs. A couple sentences, 2 or 3. These are low stakes, 2 points of questions, 1,000-point class. Did you read it or not? That's the sort of level I'm looking for. Week 2, you can see what quiz 2 is. Stewart, Suttles. They're typically 3 questions. What species is reef net target and where this fish headed? Here I'm looking for a specific answer. Don't say, to their natal stream. Reef net typically targets a very specific fish that's headed to a very specific area. That's what I'm looking for. A specific name for that garment, and a bit about the first salmon right. Leave that alone. So everything should be organized in modules. For lab, so we'll have a lab meeting. This is just showing the link to the Zoom for lab. It'll begin promptly at noon on Tuesday, and then discussion letters will be posted here. And then the additional details about what we're doing in that specific lab will be posted below that. So week 2 lab submission, you'll submit a lab report every lab. Not intended to be long, but usually following this rubric. So the lab submission, so a paragraph or two about what we did. We'll talk about that each lab so you have good direction there. That's worth between 0 and 15 points. Participation, did you participate in a discussion and lab activity? If you participated, you get 5 points. If you didn't, you get 0 points. Connection to course material. In your lab report, try to bring it back to something else. This is similar to, the first chapter of Keeping It Living. Something like that. If you made some connection to other material in the class, it's 5 points. If there's no connection, it's 0 points. So for full points, do a decent lab write-up, participate, and make some connection. It should be relatively straightforward. We'll go through it the first week and then talk about deviations there around that. And then under, let's try to look for a different one. So I haven't fully structured out the weeks, but the idea is we'll have lessons, labs with headers, and then I've got where's one that's a good example? I'm not seeing it now. But ideally there'll be lessons, lab, and then additional work, and that'll be things like your annotated bibliography, midterm, final. The midterm for this class is on October 29th, and it'll be a Thursday, I believe. That'll be a hour and a half-ish online quiz. And then the final will be on our university determined final day, December 8th from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. Final paper's due on December 4th. And then with our final project, there's also a presentation. I need to build that out a little bit more, but the idea is we'll all be on Zoom. You will present your final project no more than 10 minutes. So everybody will also do a final presentation as well. Every week there'll be lab and a lab notebook assignment-ish due. So everything should be under modules. I tend to communicate through announcements. So if I get a question by email and it's something where I'm like, geez, there's probably other people that have that same question, I'll just respond to your email via announcements. I won't say, oh, Jenny asked me this question. I'll just say, for clarity, I'm expecting X, Y, and Z for this following assignment. Something like that. So pay attention to announcements. The syllabus is listed here, and I'm updating some of these dates and updating them in Canvas. This is recorded the day before classes start, so we're working on it. We're good for the first 2 weeks. We've got that kind of nailed down. And my goal is to post material, for example, week 2, to have that posted by the end of week 1. The big thing for you is to do the reading in advance, stay on top of their reading quizzes, and pay attention to the final project and where we're going there. Arrive promptly for lab, and participate in lab to the maximum extent. So hopefully Canvas is easy to navigate. Don't stress out that it's not filled out through week 12. We're all working on it, trying to get there, but hopefully these kind of help. Tuesday, when we meet for lab, we'll have a fair amount of time to kind of go through everything and get everybody comfortable. Files has most of our reading material. There's also Keeping It Living, which is that Dewar and Turner edited book. These are all the chapters here. It's the way the file names are really long, so they don't really all show up here. When Let Me Elder Speak is a really cool, hard to find book that I had scanned the other year. Oh, it looks great, huh? Oh, that jumped files. That's not what I wanted. But that's something we might reference later. Additionally, just in the main folder, there's a fair amount of reading in here to take a look at. So with that, I will pause rambling, take some time, poke around, let me know if links are broken or misbehaving. I will rectify those as soon as I can. Thank you.